bespoke radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
All right, welcome. Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. Today is Wednesday, April 13th. 103 days into the new year, just 261 days left. We are live from a bunker somewhere in downtown Burbank, California. I'd like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black. For KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the planet. I'm your oh so humble host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? It's going to be a great show tonight. Because tonight we have Ole Dammegard, live from Spain. The call-in number is 323-825-5045. We'll try to get to some calls a little bit later. But tomorrow night is Thursday, which means it's Fader night. And John Rappaport with his No More Fake News Room. And your calls all night long. Open lines Thursday. You can follow me right now on Twitter at JChurchRadio. That's what you want to do. Use the hashtag F2B. That's the sandbox. We don't bite. Come on over. Hang out. Do it. It's great. There's, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 tweets every single night from all of you out there. And watching the conversations and everybody hanging out and having a good time in real time just means the world to me. So, and it's constantly live to my left. All right. Follow us on Facebook too, as well, and YouTube. And what was funny was yesterday, I think it was yesterday. Yeah. We crossed 10,000 likes on Facebook, and we don't know who number 10,000 was. So if you know that you were number 10,000, let us know. Get a T-shirt. All right. Questions and comments during the show for myself or Ole Dammegard. Use hashtag F2BQ, and that will get that done. That's a hashtag Fade to Black Questions, F2BQ. All right. With that, let's get the show cracking. And Ole Dammegard and the stuff that we're going to be talking about tonight, conspiracies, false flags. He's an author, researcher, one of the very, very best. And somebody, I'm going to say it was about a year ago, turned me on to Ole. I had heard about him and turned me on to him. And I just started reading and watching and listening to his stuff. And it's truly groundbreaking and well-researched. So tonight with, and you know how I am with all of this stuff. Tonight is one of those nights where I'm going to sit down and I am going to learn something with all of you. Last night was pretty amazing with Dr. Greer and Ronnie McMullen from Life Change Tea. That was a really, really, really good show last night. And I want to thank Dr. Greer for that and Ronnie for coming on and talking about all of those things, free energy and so forth. Life Change Tea. And by the way, after the show tonight, we're going for another round of Super Cleanse. So that's going to go down for the next 3 days. Go to Life Change Tea, getthetea.com, and all of the specials are on the specials page. And when you use the promo code Jimmy, you get free shipping. And after hanging out with Ronnie last night, all of you, I think you get the vibe. He's a really, really cool dude with a great company. Go and check it out now at getthetea.com. All right. And coming up in just 2 short weeks is the New Living Expo, April 29th through May 1st up in San Mateo, San Francisco, California, just a couple miles south of the San Francisco airport. Stephen Greer, who was on with us last night, will be there. Nassim Haramain, Greg Braden, Scott Walter is going to be there. Laura Eisenhower, Tanyan Brinkley, Mike Barra. So come and hang out with all of us. It's going to be great. And with that, let's get this show cracking. We've got a lot to do tonight, and I really am excited about having Ole here. With that, today, Al Green is 70. Unbelievable. Al Green, 70. Ron Perlman is 66. I had no idea he was that old, and I'm a big fan of Ron. Our dead guy's birthday today. Man, moment of silence, please. Hillel Slovak, 1962 to 1988. Yeah, he died at the age of 26. He was the original guitarist and founding member of the Red Hot Chili Peppers. It was he who created and named the band in his living room right here in Hollywood, California. He recorded 2 albums with the band, Freaky Styley and the Uplift Mofo Party Plan, 2 amazingly great, groundbreaking, legendary albums. Fairfax High School, where he went, was the place to be back then. Fairfax was happening. At that time, you had Anthony Kiedis, you had Flea, you had Slash, Tracy Guns, Steven Adler, Guns N' Roses, Jack Irons, of course, of Wallflowers, and even played with the Red Hot Chili Peppers. That was, can you imagine going to high school and having guys like that walking down the hallways, right? Slovak developed a very serious heroin addiction, and he attempted to quit many times, but ultimately it won. Hillel died of an overdose on June 25th, 1988, at the age of 26. Happy birthday, Hillel. You're up there tearing it up somewhere. I know. Tonight, it's Ole Dammegard. Call-in number is 323-825-5045. We're talking about false flags around the world and assassinations and how everything is connected. It's going to be a great conversation tonight. On this day in history, in 1360, on this day, was Black Monday. Because on this day, in 1360, a hailstorm kills an estimated 1,000 English soldiers in Chartres, France. A hailstorm. Amazing. All right. Fader fact. It took approximately 1,500 years to build Stonehenge. And that is a Fader fact. So, listen, last night, I did it. I ragged on Keshi and the Keshi Foundation. And the whole Keshi story, fraud. And those comments came from personal experience. And I'm not going to talk about Keshi right now. I'm not. It's not worth the time. But I did. I got inflamed last night, and my blood was boiling, and it comes from somewhere. And when somebody makes amazing claims that always come down to money, it just makes my blood boil. Seriously, it does. And I let myself get out of control last night. And so with that, I thought that there should be some explanation. So right now, let Uncle Jimmy tell you a little story. And maybe it'll help you, the faithful listener, our Fadernaut family, appreciate and understand where I come from when I go off the rails. Because I do. And when I go off the rails, it's usually because of integrity. And that's what I base my life on. And I want everybody to understand that. Rita and I, every single day, every day, and we fight for integrity. Years ago, back around 1998, I was contacted by a very, very close friend. And he had someone that wanted to talk to me. And this particular someone, not to go into crazy details because I don't want to reveal who these people are, but was talking to my friend, and he was looking for somebody. And my friend said, I got the guy. There's only one. You got to talk to Jimmy, right? So I get the phone call. And my friend tells me that this guy wants to talk to me about a possible business deal. And he didn't really know what it was about, by the way. And nonetheless, we set up a meeting for the next day here in the Valley. And I go over and we all get together, and this person walks in, he's got a briefcase and glasses and smart looking and professional and acted and spoke professionally. And he said that he was from the film industry and that he was exposed to this new technology that he couldn't talk about until I signed a non-disclosure agreement, the famous NDE. I was like, well, you know, this mystery and stuff, it was intriguing, but an NDE, you know. So he pulls it out. There it is, one paper, one page NDE, has my name on it already printed. And I read it, just said that I'm not going to talk about this technology and this conversation with anybody. All right, I sign it. Now, without going into the details, the real details, because it's too long and it's too boring, really, let's just say that he said that this technology would change the world. It would change the world of video. It would change audio. It would change electronics. It would change everything in the digital domain. It would change the world. And I'm like, wow, okay, heavy stuff, right? And he barely told me anything about it. Barely. I mean, nothing. And it was intriguing, right? I thought, wow, you know, to be part of this, okay, all right. So it sounded exciting. It sounded too good to be true. But I agreed to meet the team the next day. And I was promised that the technology would be explained. And I had questions in that first meeting. Questions. I had questions. And questions that this person just couldn't answer. Said he didn't know. And I was like, okay, all right, another meeting. Let's do this. Now, before we go on with this little tale, a little, very little background on me and why I was chosen for this. If you've listened to the show, you know that I've produced and recorded and engineered, I don't know how many bands, okay? Some not so good, some great, and some that have gone on to really big things. I have ears, and with those ears, I can hear everything. I can hear in 3D, and I'm able to mix and get things to sound good, if not great. But I know what I'm doing. And with that comes the knowledge of audio, compressors, EQs, frequencies, what instruments do what voices do what, at what frequencies, and how they react to compressors and stereo and mono and digital and bit rates and sample rates and word clock and all of that stuff. SMPTE. Everything comes into play. And it's a very complex, the audio and visual world is deep. But I happen to be one of those guys that can do that. Okay? So, and without going into a bunch of my background, I'm just the guy, right? So, off to this meeting. the next day. And the meeting is at a house, a nice big home on the other side of the hill, Beverly Hills, Santa Monica area, Brentwood. I'm not going to go into those details either. And I pull up and I'm like, wow, it's not even an office. Okay, it's a house. But I go in and they've converted this nice home into an office. And I walk in, there's a computer room with 3 or 4 computers in it, nobody in there. And we go to the back, and they have this big conference table set up in the dining room. And I don't know, seats 10, 12, 14 people. And we sit down and we start having a conversation. And what is told to me in this conversation is that this is going to change the world, that it changes the way you hear everything. It changes the way you're going to see everything. And it makes video look better. It makes audio sound better. It makes stereo more stereo. It's less noise. It's this. I mean, it changes everything. I was like, okay, but how? Well, we'll get to that. And so they play me a couple of videos of before and after, right? And I'm like, okay, all right, I see it. But how are you doing it? Well, we've got this special technology. Okay, I get it. But how? Right? And nobody would tell me anything. And day after day, I go back and we have another meeting. And the same type of discussions are going over and over again, that, this technology, and they're working on a patent, and they've got a certain amount of money, and they need to sell it. They need to, get this, and they want it to be like, THX or Dolby, and get those labels on everything and sell this into all of the industry and everything. And I'm like, okay, cool, but how does it work? Somebody tell me. I mean, where's the electronics? Where's the genius? Where are these magic boxes? How is this getting done? We go over to a studio. Go into a studio, film studio, and we sit down with all of this expensive equipment, and they're showing this before and after stuff with a couple of engineers from the film industry, and they're showing it to them. And those guys are asking the same thing. That's great, but how does it work? Well, we've got the special interface, and it was like this mystery magic, right? And it was coming down to that. It kept coming down to this intangible thing, right? This unbelievable technology, but it was something that you really couldn't touch. I was like, what? And so demonstrations, listening, video, this goes on and goes on and goes on for weeks. But I'm not exposed to anything. And then one day, they show me the device. And they bring it in, and they set it on the table. And on my mother's grave, it's a white box that you buy from any Kmart, Target, electronics store, that you plug into the wall and plug in a couple of extensions to it. I'm like, what is this? Well, that's our box. How does it work? Well, anything that you plug into it is made better. More electricity. It's clean. And I say, what? Wait a minute here. Okay? I'm a professional. No, right? No, you don't understand, Jimmy. Right? I'm like, oh, God, you've got to be kidding me. And I said, I need a full explanation. I got to meet the guy behind this. I got to know what's going on. I got to see a demonstration of the technology. I want to see how it's done. I want to see how it's made, because that thing, that little white extension box that you plug into the wall, is not going to change the world. So they introduce me to the doctor, right? This guy comes over to my house. We have this big meeting, and everything is going to be explained. And I've got my skeptical hat on. I'm ready to just lose it. And he comes over, And he, with the promise that I will fully understand everything, and I will keep my integrity in place, because I kept telling these people, look, I know everybody in the audio industry, man, at every company across the United States, and I'm not going to put my name on anything or go and do when I no, this is like snake oil stuff. No, Jimmy, relax. So the doctor comes over to the house, comes in, and this is how he explained it to me, and I'm not making this up. He says, I have a way of changing the way that electricity moves. With that little black box, yes. Well, how do you do it? I have equipment in my bedroom. What's the equipment? I can't explain it, but let me just tell you this. Electricity is better. You came over here to my house to explain and to expose me to the technology. And your explanation to this is it makes electricity better. That everything that you plug into this changes. Now, you want me to go out across the country to different corporations and tell them when they plug in their stuff into that box that they can buy at Target for $1.99 that everything is better. Yes, it is. Can't you see it? Can't you hear it? I'm like, I'm not sure. I see the before and after stuff, but I've never seen it in action. I've never seen it run. I've never seen it work, you know. And so I procure one of these little white boxes, and I take it apart. And it's nothing. It's just what you would think is on the inside of it. There's nothing there. It's just an extension box. There's nothing. No electronic. Nothing. And I'm like, what the heck? And they had it all glued, you know, and sealed. And I thought at least there was going to be some part installed. Something. You know, some magical thing in there. Nothing, right? And I'm like, So they kept putting this pressure on me, and I couldn't deal with it. But finally, I pick up the phone one day, and I call a friend of mine that's an engineer at a very, very large company. I'm like, dude, it's me. Hey, what's up? Hey, listen, I got this thing, and let me tell you about it. And I start telling him what I knew, and he goes, hold on for a second. And I hear him shuffling papers and opening up a drawer and stuff. And he goes, wait a minute. These people approached us a couple of years ago. I have everything right here. Hold on. And he faxes it to me. And it was word for word what I was told like the night before by the good doctor. I'm like, oh, what? You're kidding me. And he goes, dude, man, this is the biggest fraud, man. This is, back away. I'm like, man. And I called the company, these people, and I said, look, lose my phone number. Never call me again. Why? What's going on? Listen to me clearly. Integrity is everything. And this is a fraud, and I knew it from the beginning. And you guys are out there chasing money with stuff that people can't see, they can't touch, and you want them to run on faith. And life doesn't work that way. And in this industry where I'm at, integrity is everything. So please, never, ever call me again. And I hung up the phone. Now, when I talk about Keshi, and I think about the very device, that MagRav that you plug into the wall, and you plug everything else into it, and you get free energy and electricity and it makes my blood boil. That's why I reacted like that last night. It is so important in this world to have integrity. I have no time for it. When I said last night, there is no way I will ever ask one of our guests, what do they think about Keshi? I'm not going to do it. I'm not. That's where that comes from. It makes me angry. Everything, the entire snake oil con artist industry is all based on the same thing. Something you can't see, look, feel, touch, but you get cured. You get free this. But all you have to do is spend money with me. And then you get everything. No, life does not work that way. So when I got angry last night, I got angry for a reason. And I got emails today. Dude, no, you don't get, no, I'm sorry, you don't get it. And I'm not going to waste my breath. This rant today wasn't about Keshi and the fraud and the con. It's about my experiences with something that mirrors that so much, it's nearly identical. And I will not touch it, look at it, talk about it, deal with it. There'll never be anybody on the show to defend it. It will not happen. This show has integrity. Now, when I bring on somebody that I want to learn something from, it's because I'm curious. And there's something there. And there's something that can be learned from all of us and we can share. Okay? But when it comes to fraud and con, that will not ever be on this show. And I think I've made myself very, very clear. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Ole Dammegard, live from Spain. False flags, assassinations, the connections, the conspiracy. That, my friends, ain't a con and it ain't fraud. And this is Fade to Black, bespoke radio for the masses. I'll be right back after this short break. Email is jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. And you can certainly follow me on Twitter at jchurchradio. I'll be right back.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
What's up, revolutionaries? It's me, Jimmy Church. Do you have an IRS or state tax issue? Well, I did, and I called national tax experts. My problems were fixed, done, fini, and man, I gotta tell you, it was a relief. National tax experts are a recognized tax office that services clients in all 50 states. Doesn't matter where you live. Give them a call. I'm telling you, they take the time to understand each and every client's individual financial status as well as their financial goals. And that's exactly what you need, my brother, when you're taking on the evil 3-letter. So, seriously. Give them a call today at 1-877-909-5444. Again, 1-877-909-5444. Or go check out their website, www.nattaxexperts.com. That's NATTAXEXPERTS.com. Tell them Jimmy sent you.
Poor water quality is a major health issue, and it's only getting worse. Municipalities can't keep up, standards have dropped, and pollutants are increasing. Where does it all end? It ends by keeping the pollutants outside of your home with HydroCare's advanced systems available at Wave Home Solutions. No less than the best purification materials and processes have been developed by HydroCare to provide you with healthy, clean water for drinking, cooking, and showering. HydroCare far surpasses the competition in removing chlorine, odors, iron, lead, chemicals, limescale, and much more. Don't settle for less when it comes to your water. We'll take care of the toughest water problems for you, whether it's from a city or well source. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, call 888-997-WAVE. That's 888-997-WAVE. Or go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Hi, this is Chase Klutsky with Fate Magazine Radio, and you're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station, where the Fade or Nots rock.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. Bespoke Radio, that's right, on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Ole Dammegard is the author of Coup d'etat, a masterful book on the death of Prime Minister of Sweden, Olof Palme, tracing all of the various angles and connections between that assassination and other hits around the globe. This includes the Kennedy assassination, the false flags of Aurora, Sandy Hook, and the Boston bombings, and much, much more. Dammegard also discloses how the CIA's Operation 40, originally implemented in 1960 by Vice President Richard M. Nixon, became super secret and very deadly assassination squad that used the elite to carry out a swath of destabilizing assassinations worldwide, including the political assassinations of JFK, Robert F. Kennedy, with the roles in Watergate and 9/11. CIA Operation 40 was also deployed against visionary musicians like John Lennon and Bob Marley. His website is lightonconspiracies.com, and I would like to welcome, for the first time on Fade to Black, live from Spain, Ole Dammegard. Ole, welcome.
Thank you so much, Jimmy. It's a real honor and pleasure. Thank you.
I think you have me. Oh, hold on for a second here. Okay, wait. There you go. I had double audio running down the feed, and I'm sure you were going, wow, that sounds kind of strange. I'm getting it twice.
I was going schizophrenic here.
Yeah, man, that's okay. That's okay. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Jimmy.
It's I've been looking forward to this for a very long time, but the cool thing is, Ole, you get the first time guest disclaimer, which is it's just you and I sitting on my couch having a conversation as friends, and where we start, where we end, and we're going to end as friends. Are you ready to go?
That's right.
Okay. And, I almost want to talk music with you, but maybe we'll touch into that a little bit later because, I have a music background and I love it when, we have guests on that have a music background because I'll sit and talk guitars, for 2 hours and never get around to JFK or 9/11 because it's my first love, my first passion. So maybe we'll get around to that in a little bit. And now your website, and I'll just let everybody know, Light on Conspiracies. If you go there, Ole's actually got some really cool black and white pictures of him back in the day with his band, and they're precious. So you should go check those out for yourself. Let's kind of start here, Ole. Back the second Paris attack. I was live on the air when that happened that night, and I was forced into a difficult position, as any host would be in something like that, where I had to report the news in real time. And it was a disturbing thing for me to go through. And also, it was on Friday the 13th, which, really messed with my head, too, as well. But it was no coincidence how that went down when it did after the other the Hebdo attacks too as well, and the other things that have been going on in Europe. And so I kind of want to start there, and I want to move backwards a little bit. But are these connected? I mean, are they, when we look at the London bombings and we go to 9/11 or we go to Sandy Hook or move Aurora and move around the world and look at all of these crazy flare-ups that are occurring, are they truly connected?
I tell you, I think it's really, really important when you come to a crime scene that you come with an open mind and with no, determined opinions. You need to really look at the real evidence and try and be there as soon as possible. And I devoted some 30 years of my life trying to expose these so-called false flag operations and top political assassinations. And the reasons why I focused on these areas are because they are the game changers. These are the things that are being used against us, the normal people, to change the world into a much darker place than it was designed for. And to answer your question, when I started in mid-'80s, I had no idea that these things were connected. I thought these were very separate things that had nothing to do with each other. But over the years, I tell you, it's incredible the way they are connected and how they're being carried out by a very small little team, more or less all of them. But it may sound weird to say a thing like that, but I tell you, I base this on many, many years. And also what I try to is collect as much very detailed information and facts from every single crime scene and then put it together. And over the years, the picture of these things, it's been like a massive jigsaw where I did not know that I was making the same jigsaw. I was just trying to piece the different pieces together without being able to see the picture side. It's been like with the picture sound downwards. But then over the years, the more I managed to connect, more and more I've been able to turn the whole jigsaw around so that I can see the whole picture. And it's just incredible how they are connected. So my answer is yes.
What's the first thing that you look for, not only with Paris, but with anything that is, a singular, what looks like a standoff, a terrorist attack, or somebody that has lost their mind too as well? What's the first thing that you look for?
I look for the very classical signs of a very old Roman template called problem, reaction, solution. It is a method that has been used for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years by small groups of people that have decided that they want to control the masses. And so it's always been a problem for all the way down back to the Romans and the Greeks. How can an elite few, or they call themselves the elite few, control the rest of us? And the answer has always been the same. It is through fear. It is only through fear that they can get us to do what they want, because they see us as, to quote them, one of their members, useless eaters. So they've always been in a big need of a threat from the outside, a boogeyman that they can blame it for. So they use this template called problem, reaction, solution. What they do is they secretly create a problem. In Europe, this has mostly been in the form of bombs or so-called accidents, virus scares, financial crashes. But in the States, they've used mass shootings as well to a very large extent. So they, the elite few, secretly create the problem. We have no idea that they're the ones behind it. And then the reason for this problem is to get the reaction from us, an emotional outcry of panic from the population saying, oh my God, I need protection. Please save me from this horrible boogeyman. And then we turn towards the people that we think are there to protect us, not understanding that they are actually the ones who created the problem, saying, save us, save us. And then they will say, well, in this horrible situation, the only way we can save you is, and boom, in comes the solution. Problem, reaction, solution. So, and the solution is always the same. You, the normal person, have to pay. You have to give up your freedom, your civil rights, your human rights. You have to accept more and more unjust wars. You have to accept more and more control, surveillance, military in the street, see the police turn into Robocops and all of that. All for your protection based on the problem. And so when I come to a crime scene, I right away, or when things like this happen, I see, is there a problem, reaction, solution? And what is the solution we're being offered? Because it will follow very quickly. The problem, boom, the bomb, the mass shooting, whatever. You will then see all these horrific images being spread over media, which is one of their main tools to get to us, to get our reaction so that we react emotionally and don't use our brain. They want the emotional reaction. That's why they use children and women, nuns, nurses, these type of things to get the emotions going. And then just wait for it, and boom, there's the solution. So as soon as I see the solution is being served right away, instead of what a natural way would be that a problem occurs, you get the reaction, and there's confusion. Who did this? Why did they do it? For what reason? And then you need a good investigation to find out who is guilty and why did they do it. But here, the solution will be served to you before the next news break, the next break for commercials. Problem, reaction, solution. Bam, bam, bam. And that's it. So this is one of the first things I look for.
In Europe, there's one thing right now that's kind of confusing me a little bit when it comes to the elite and the New World Order, which as time has gone by, we've started to understand more about what's going on with this and the banking system and so forth, that the whole oneness and breaking down the borders and bringing in the euro and eliminating passports and checkpoints was part of the NWO's plan, at least as most of us understood it. And now with what is, everything that has gone down in Brussels, in Belgium, and in Paris, and in London, in Germany, but now they're screaming to close down the borders, and they want the old school back. Isn't it kind of contradictory to what was the progress that was made before?
It is. It's confusing for me as well. At the same time, I've seen this as part of their agenda for many years. I mean, many investigators that have looked deeply into the background of the Bilderberg Group, the doings of the Trilateral Commission or the Council on Foreign Relations, will see that these things are written years and years ago, how this has all been planned in an effort to break down the borders, break down the national identity, break down the national sovereignty, the feeling of, we as a nation. They want to break down everything, including, and it goes all the way down to handicraft and national, the cuisine of that country. Everything should be mixed up and messed up. And it comes to people from different countries as well. I mean, most of my friends, if not all, comes from all over the world. I mean, so it's not that I'm against races or colors or religions whatsoever. If you're a good person and you treat people with respect and love around you, you're my guy. Doesn't matter if you're blue, red, green, or Hindu or Sikh or whatever.
Fat and white like me, that wouldn't matter either. You're supposed to laugh. You're supposed to laugh. Oh, wait, and this is, Ole, this is the other crazy thing. I thought that one of the most unique things about the world, and certainly Europe, is that every little country there had its own little vibe. right? Its own currency, its own borders, its own citizens, its own music, its own language. And, in most cases, you could drive through these countries in a half an hour, right? But at least they had their own identity. And it seems that is starting to shrink and fade away, because you just mentioned it yourself, the cuisine, right? And that very thing that makes the world cool, unique little cultures and subcultures and language and traditions is being given away by removing the borders and bringing in the euro. And I think that is something that Europe is going to end up really struggling with, and probably will end up regretting that they went through this.
This is the thing. First, they need to get rid of the borders, get rid of the different countries, get rid of the different national identities, because we're so open, we're so free, it's so wonderful, no more need for border controls and so on. Once they've taken away all the borders, then boom, in moves this military control tool that we see more and more now due to terror. So suddenly they, instead of having all of these borders in between the countries, they have like a massive big wall around the whole of Europe, where they close it there instead, saying you're free, we're here to protect you, when it's the absolute opposite. And this is why it's so important to understand the history about the European Union, the NATO, the United Nations, these troops, because they are created by the same people that are behind the New World Order. This is not a secret. You can read it in their own books. The whole strategy is there, how to break us down into also mixing up anything from gene pools when it comes to harvest or flowers or people or races, religions, everything into one big confusing mess, really, where they can use one of the very few other methods they have, because they've got very few methods. They have problem, reaction, solution, and they have divide and conquer. So once they created this mess, they can really get you into blaming each other, saying it's because of the immigrants, it's because of the blacks, it's because of the Muslims, it's because of the Christians, it's because of this, it's because of that. And so we focus on starting to get upset and angry with our neighbors instead of seeing who is creating this mess. Who is behind this whole thing? And this is totally by design.
With the situation, we'll talk about the United States here in a second. With the situation that's going on in Europe, the puppet masters there, that ruling elite, is it the same elite that would be controlling us and Russia, China, Japan? Is it the very same? Is the agenda the same?
I don't know. I don't know when it comes to China and Russia and Japan, these Eastern countries. I focused on false flag operations, terror acts, and assassinations. I had to focus somewhere, because otherwise, when you go into this world of conspiracies, you can get totally it's just too big. It is such massive areas. So I focused on this. So I don't know the whole picture when it comes to that. What I do know is that when you see the Western world, then you have to go beyond national borders. You cannot look at like France did that and England did that and the US did that. We are beyond these borders. So we are looking into networks like the Bilderberg Group and higher up, where it's handpicked people, an elite few from each and every country that meets in deep secrecy, where they have these meetings, where they decide for the agenda for the year to come, how to pull the strings, what wars to create, what currency attacks to make, and all of these things. So they have worked for many years to concentrate the power to fewer and fewer and fewer. And now when we look at the world, this group is not very big, which makes it in one way more scary. But for me, it's so positive, because then it's so much easier to track them, because you go to a crime scene and you dig down and then you see do, and here they go again. It's the same people, the same people, the same people. And they're also using the same team on a street level. The ones carrying out these operations, in my humble opinion, are flown from country to country to country, like a Rocky Horror Show, on a global tour.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. You get the phone call and you meet at the airport, and it's the same group of guys. It's always about chasing the money, Ole, and we know that. Is it purely the banking families that ultimately are making these decisions? And of course, the Rothschilds come to mind, but they set up all of the international banks, hundreds of years ago. And that goes for, Russia and Europe and the United States and England and France. And that's tends to be where everything ends up pointing in the end. Is that the ruling elite and those families, which goes all the way back to Habsburgs,
Once again, Jimmy, I've focused on the street level, and I'm confused when it comes to the absolute top of this power pyramid. I do not know who's up there or what is up there. There's so many. I go to the level of the Bilderberg group, the Trilateral, and so on. What is up there? The Illuminati, the Jesuits, the alien. I don't know.
Yeah, it's.
I leave that to other researchers that are more dedicated to that area, because I focus on my part, trying to be as good as possible in that area, and then I learn from other people who have devoted their lives to other areas.
And you brought up something that I speak about a lot, which is fear. And fear when it comes to, and I can't speak for the European news because I'm not there to watch it, but here in the United States, and it doesn't matter if it's a national level or in the local level of the news, the first 10 stories of the night, if not all of them, are going to be fear-based. Right, they'll get to the last story of the evening is the funny ha-ha story, right? the comedy relief. But by and large, the news today is all fear. And not only is it with terrorists on the terrorism level, but it's viruses and it's illness and it's the flu and it's everything is fear-based. It's the same agenda when it comes to Ebola, and right now the virus of the month is Zika. And once again today, the headlines were Zika is worse than originally thought. Or no, originally feared. That was the actual headline. They weren't even trying to mask it.
Can I make a comment to that?
Yes, absolutely.
It is the same, and the same.
Wow.
Zika was a virus that, the patent is from 47, I think, 57. And these things, the next one they will come up with is the blown up camel virus or the upside down kangaroo virus, whatever it takes to freak you out.
Right.
And these things, if you track it back, it's from the same people. It's from the same. Check out, these things are not wild viruses that just comes from nowhere. They are created in laboratories. They're patented. You can even find the patents of these things. And then it's used through media. Media is their tool I would say that it's the biggest and strongest propaganda machine nowadays that the world has ever seen, so that we're still standing, that we should salute ourselves, even though most of us are totally asleep and to some extent brain dead. I include myself. So I would say this black box in front of you, if you change the design of it into like an opening of a sewage, that is what you're actually looking at. And it is through that box that they control you. And the whole thing is fear, fear, fear. I heard an interview with a journalist once, and she was asked the question, what is news to you? And she said, news is something that differs from the reality that people are living in. And I was in Iran during the middle of the war down there. Absolute horrific situation for these poor people in the middle of all this mayhem. And many times in the newspapers, I got people to translate it. It was only positive news. You know, like never before have the people of Iran had this good and this fantastic thing happen and this. And I looked in the street and there were soldiers everywhere. There was people were being, you know, thrown on trucks and taken away. You know, there were military controls. The war was going on. Bombers were coming in, bombing Tehran. And so absolute horrific. And then I go to Sweden, back to Sweden, which is there's nothing. You know, everything is sunny and shiny on the surface, and you open a newspaper, oh my God, or you see the news, it's terror and bombs and rapes, and the bishop just chopped the head of 4 small children, and all of these things that fear. And in the States, you're down to like 6 owners of all media. And these owners are connected as well. So when you look at whatever news channel you're looking at, more or less, it's not a coincidence that sometimes you can track that they're actually reading the exact same script. Many of the same stations just reading the prompter, thinking they're doing their job, serving the people the news that they want, not understanding that their part is just pumping out the fear, pump out, very designed. This is not by coincidence either, because what they do is, first, many times before the news, they have this circular, like a sphere, a circling sphere, you know, the logo of the newspaper or the news program, something that turns around. And this is exactly when you speak to experts of hypnosis, this is the way to get your mind down, calm down. You've had a long day, now get in the sofa, get the remote, and turn into a veggie that we can manipulate. So you look at the news because you're a responsible adult and you need to be informed. So you sit there, and some of these programs have a countdown: 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This is exactly how you do it in hypnosis. You got the red and the blue colors depending on what message you want. Blue is for if you're more serious and you can trust me, or red is when you want to go emotional. And then you have the text ticker down below where it says all of this kind of crap that nobody's interested in. NASDAQ 3.4, 2.6. Who watches these things? But they're not there to inform. They're there to get your eye movement into a special pattern that will get your brain into a veggie state. And that's, once you're there, after a minute or so, you're down, just like in a session of hypnosis. You're
right.
Down, you're calm, you feel tired, and then they start hit you. And they use trigger words. It's like when you listen to the news, there's no variations. It's attack, terror attack, mass shooting, fear, murder, attack. It's the same words that they use against and again with a beautiful smile and a nice package, but it's the same. And this is to just like with a Coca-Cola commercial where, you know, if you say Coca-Cola enough times, you start getting thirsty, you know. So Coca-Cola,
right.
Coca-Cola. Here we have fear, terror attack, terrorist, Muslim terror. So mass shooting, and all of these things. So you're sitting there and your poor mind is just being slaughtered. It's like being up against Mike Tyson without knowing it. You know, you're sitting there totally open and vulnerable, and they just hammer it in. And
let me jump in. We need to take a quick break right here. Our guest tonight is Ole Dammegard, live from Spain. This is Fade to Black, False Flags and Assassinations. I'll be right back.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
Hello, I'm Katie Lee, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com. Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA Digital Broadcast Station.
Hey folks, Life Change Tea here, reminding you that colds and flus suck. Feeling lousy sucks, and allergies really can be annoying. What if you could change that? What if you could drink something that changed the sick and tired scenario? Well, you can change how you feel with a little help from Life Change Tea. Life Change Tea is a drink you make, you control, and you drink. There are 8 organic herbs that blend together and give you what you need to fight the flus and colds of this world. Less sickness is more relief. Life Change Tea can help with high blood pressure, constipation, high cholesterol, and much, much more just by drinking the tea. Read the numerous testimonies at getthetea.com. If you're tired of feeling lousy, order right now at getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Or you can call us at 928-308-0408. That's 928-308-0408. If you've heard this commercial more than once and someone's trying to tell you something, it's time to get well. GetTheTea.com.
Imagine no longer being tied down to your computer, but having the freedom to take live talk radio with you anywhere you go. TalkStream Live introduces our first ever iPhone application. The talk shows you follow now follow you, and your iPhone is now the fastest and easiest way to stay connected to the best talk radio on the internet. Let TalkStream Live transform the way you listen to radio. Listen to live talk shows 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Mobile talk radio from TalkStream Live. Now available in the iTunes App Store.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. Yes. We are of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring 2 Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hardshell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The 2 full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129, and use the promo code JCRTWS, and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to JimmyChurchRadio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go Beckley Teppy.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
Welcome back. Our guest tonight, Ole Dammegard, live from Spain, by the way. He's the author of Coup d'etat. It's a book on the death of Prime Minister of Sweden, Olof Palme. And now, Ole, right before the break, this is what I kind of want to do, is the definition of false flag, because I want to jump into a couple of specific events. And the definition of false flag, the way that pop culture defines it and deals with it today, is different than, the original definition of false flags with pirate ships and what went on in the high seas. What is your definition of a false flag?
A false flag is an old naval term where in the old days, if there was a naval nation like Holland or Spain or England and so on, if they wanted to go in and just rape, plunder, and invade a small country, they could do that. But at the same time, if they did that, they could sometimes mess up, diplomatic relationships with other countries or trade agreements and so on. So what they did, they came up with this idea that if we put our own flag on No, if we put the enemy flag on one of our own ships, then let our own ship attack us. That's the false flag. Then we become the victim. We say, oh my God, we're under attack. We need to defend ourselves. And that then would justify the invasion, rape, and plunder. And you would even be celebrated as a hero for doing it. So this is a fantastic tool. And the pirates, they once they learned the way of doing this, they did exactly the same. They put whatever ship they were going to attack, they put that flag on their own ship, and then that made it possible for them to get really, really close before the victim did even recognize who's actually coming that close to them, and then it was too late. So this false flag is that's where it comes from. Also, the black operation and black flag operation, which is sometimes called, it's from these days as well.
And today's modern definition?
Today's modern day definition is that a false flag operation is that it is the enemy is inside. It is they sort of disguise the boogeyman so that you will see an outer threat, you will see an outer enemy, you will see a nation, a hostile nation that is aggressive against you, not understanding that it is your own people that is doing this. So it's like the population being attacked by their own rulers, but thinking that it's an enemy from the outside.
With the United States, we've had apparently no morals and no issues with perpetrating our own false flag operations over the years. We do it all the time. We've been caught. With Sandy Hook, is Sandy Hook a classic false flag?
My answer, 100% yes.
And I want to jump into this a little bit because I've been fairly critical about the Sandy Hook conspiracy theorists, specifically Sandy Hook, not other tragedies that have happened around the world. But Sandy Hook, to me, is something that could possibly have just been what it was. So I want you to help me with that and walk me through. And from the beginning, why you think Sandy Hook would be a classic false flag?
It is not from one's evidence alone. It is when you start seeing them piling up all these inconsistencies, all of these evidence, where you, if you go step by step by step, you will see that there's not like one thing that doesn't really make sense or two. We're up in the thousands. And I've been just the last year and so I've been involved together with Jim Fetzer and Mike Palese to publish. I've designed the covers and the inside layout and so on in a series of books. The first one is called, and I suppose we didn't go to the moon either. That one is about it is a cooperation. There's like 10 or 12 PhDs and experts and researchers, many heavyweight names involved in these books. And they break down each and every case. That's the first book. The second one is called Nobody Died at Sandy Hook. The whole book, I think it's almost 450, 500 pages, is a breakdown of all the so-called evidence and then showing the real evidence that points directly to this being a total fake event. And then the third book is called And Nobody Died in Boston Either. That is, these, you can find them on Amazon. No, not on Amazon. That is not true, because when we released the book Nobody Died at Sandy Hook, it got banned by Amazon. They refused to print it. They have like a company underneath them called Create Space, and once it got out what was in this book, Create Space just refused to print it anymore. So Fetz and the other guys had to find another publisher, which they have now. And so when Amazon banned this book, what we did instead, what I think was absolutely great by Jim Fetzer and Mike Palese, was that they started giving it out for free. So the banned version got spread out, we promoted it everywhere, giving it out for free, because this information needs to get out there. And now, and Nobody Died in Boston either. That book is also, it's just breaking it down step by step by step, showing you with images and the whole thing, looking at the facts, because if you look at the term conspiracy theorist or conspiracy theory, that is a term that was created right after the JFK assassination to be used against any critical mind that were looking into the real evidence. So that as soon as they started questioning things, you could just throw that at them. Conspiracy theorist. Because as soon as you say conspiracy theory, there's a doubt. If you say conspiracy facts, there's no doubt. And here we're looking at the facts, the real evidence, not the theories, because I'm totally not interested in conspiracy theories. I'm only interested in trying to find the real facts behind these things.
Does it start with Adam Lanza?
Adam Lanza is just the patsy of the whole thing. I mean, there's massive questions of him even existing. That because many times they in these operations, the patsy they've got. It's like making a pie. You have specific ingredients that needs to be there, and the patsy is one of them. The fall guy, the one that has to that takes the blame, that takes the fall. And so on. So people will be satisfied because this guy very often ends up dead, committing suicide on site. So it's case closed. Thank you, folks. Goodbye, and go home to sleep again. So with the patsy, they need someone that looks weird, that says weird things, that will work in media nowadays. And if you've ever seen somebody that looks weird, Adam Lanza is one of them. And when you look at the images of him, there's very few of them. And also, I've worked with Photoshop for the last 20 odd years and something like that. When you look at these photos, I mean, my God, they're so manipulated, so it's incredible. You can just compare the width of his face and the eye positions, and you compare with other photos, and they doesn't match up at all.
With the reason why I say does it start with Adam Lanza, because you need to unravel, right, and start to chase things in different directions. And that's why I'm wondering, did it start with Lanza, or was there something else significant with Sandy Hook that forced you to go and end up at Adam Lanza? You know what I mean? Did it start there and everything kind of unraveled underneath him? Or was there another specific event for Sandy Hook?
The thing that is the most compelling and confusing about Sandy Hook is the magnitude, the amount of people involved. That is the one that gets to most people, because you're like, oh, come on, you must be joking. You cannot seriously believe that a whole little town can be involved in a thing like this.
Right.
This is the one that is the hardest one to, and it's also with these latest attacks in Paris and so on. When you see the number of alleged deaths, when you start questioning them, that is when people go, oh, come on, you must be kidding me. You cannot be serious. But I tell you, when you look at it, it just gets more and more and more bizarre the further down into these labyrinths you get. And also, one thing, when it comes to Sandy Hook, I remember there's one man that I really admire. His name was Fletcher Prouty. He was a colonel, and he is the man that is portrayed as Mr. X in the JFK movie, the Oliver Stone movie about the JFK assassination, which I think is a brilliant movie. In my opinion, that is an excellent. The conspiracy is even bigger, but all of the things that is in that movie, according to my humble opinion, is correct. So, but Fletcher Prouty, he's the guy that meets up with Garrison in Washington and starts explaining what actually was behind this operation, the size, the magnitude behind the JFK assassination. And he was, he knew he was one of the first big whistleblowers, and he was involved for many years himself in false flag operations and black ops and so on. So he knew what he was talking about. And he in one interview, he talks about a conversation he had with Alan Dulles, the former CIA director, and a man that is so central when you go back in so much mayhem in the world. The Dulles brothers, the Bush family, and so on. It's incredible the level of criminalities these people have been involved in. But Fletcher Prouty and Alan Dulles was in Greece driving around for some reason. And Prouty says that Alan Dulles, they were driving around and they were passing this little village in Greece. And Dulles said to him, "Do you know what that is over there?" And it looks like a touristy, complex type of thing. And Prouty said, "I don't know, holiday resort, something like that." And Dulles said, "No, they're all ours. This is all of the people in there are our agents, either sleeping agents or retired agents or contractors or whatever. All of them are ours." And he also said, we have this in Greece and Italy, in the States, I think in Germany as well, if you may mention that. But this is what I believe we're seeing here in Sandy Hook, that we're seeing a whole little community where everybody is involved in these intelligence agencies. And this is how they pull it off as well.
Kind of like the village in The Prisoner, if you think about it in a strange way. What about could the local police in Sandy Hook, for instance, be part of the Patsy syndrome, where they thought that they were reacting to something real and they were just doing their jobs?
This is standard procedure. All of these operations are totally compartmentalized. Everyone is only informed on a need-to-know basis. You only need to know your little part. And many people are doing what they believe is true. Do you know what they're supposed to do? The police are normal, good police guys. They're there, but they follow order. You go there, you close off that street and don't let anyone in. That guy thinks he's doing a brilliant job by shutting the rest of us out. And so it's with these operations, it's very, very important that as few people as possible know the real truth and the whole picture, because otherwise you would have whistleblowers all over the place. So here, the more people involved, the more important it is to keep it, the real information very limited. So it's an incredible stunt that they pulled off in Sandy Hook. But I would suggest that just because you see people moving around, walking around in front of cameras, or in SWAT team uniforms or military uniforms, or looking at like a police officer and so on, does not mean that they're actually a police officer, a SWAT team member, a parent or anything. They're just people moving around. And when you look at agencies like NSA or CIA or DIA or whatever, how many people know what they're doing? We're looking at agencies that have a budget of billions, but do we ever see them? MI6, MI5, the Swedish SÄPO, the South African boss, you don't see them at all. What are they doing? And here, just because you see hundreds of people walking around in the street, what tells you that this is not just employees from these agencies that they pulled together just for this stunt, and also from other countries? Because this is what I found, when I really looked into like the Sydney siege, the shooting in Ottawa, the Peshawar mass shooting in Pakistan, or the Copenhagen shooting, or the Paris, the Charlie Hebdo, or November the 13th. I tell you, in my humble opinion, we're looking at the same small group that are being flown from country to country in army planes to NATO or American air bases and transported in buses on to the location where they carry out the same scene, the same show again and again and again. The same theme. We're talking about directors, background actors, crisis actors. We got some main actors, but really crappy ones, because they cannot use good ones, because all the good ones are already taken and used in commercials and so on. So they need to stick with the real bad ones. You got marketing agencies that come up with slogans and logos, all of these things, part of the whole propaganda of fear mongering. You got people, experts on makeup, so they can make up the crisis actors with blown up amputees and so on. You got experts on explosives, smoke bombs, and military advisors. And also you got like bouncers, people that keep this little group together with fear. That's the whole thing. And I've been in touch with people that have been involved in false flag operations, and they have told me similar stories. I'm also a good friend of Chip Tatum, who's a CIA whistleblower, he was a deep cover agent for 25 years, a black op assassin. He was one of the pilots in the Iran-Contra scandal, flying weapons out, drugs into the States. He was working directly under all the presidents from Nixon up to George Bush Sr. And he was, in the end, he was the commander of a group called Pegasus, which was an ultra-secret hit team under the direct control of George Bush Sr., carrying out, I think it was at least 14 missions in Western Europe and the States. And I have spoken to him on air as well about this thing. Is it possible that we're seeing the same group being transported from place to place, carrying out the exact same theme again and again and again? And he said it's not only possible, it's plausible. And he really backs this idea as well.
One of the things about Sandy Hook, and I've stayed back from it and tried to stay away from the rabbit hole, but there's one thing about Sandy Hook that makes me raise an eyebrow, and that is the police force, their radio transmissions. And you listen to that, and there was a lot more going on there than just Adam Lanza. And, were they chasing actors? Were they chasing other shooters? Were they chasing, that part of it, and the helicopter video footage, to me is it's revealing in that either it was all just one big mistake and they were chasing the wrong guys and the police force didn't know what they were doing. It was either that or there's something to this. And it's a frightening thing to go back and listen to. What did you think about the police radio recordings?
At this point, I think they're hilarious. I mean, these things are fantastic for someone like me, because this is where you can really spot the problems in their timeline and in their story.
Right.
Because the thing is, I am in love with truth. I really love truth. I devote my life to try and follow that path. And the thing with truth is it's so simple, it's so pure, it fears no investigation, it can answer all your questions. But when you're looking at a conspiracy, it is a mess. It is a mess. Lies covered with more lies, then starting to be the group that is involved in this starting to fear each other because who has been talking, maybe he will, blow the whistle, whatever. So they start killing each other inside this whole thing. So it becomes like a cancer growth. And this is also where you find where people are being pushed forward in white robes with fancy titles, trying to explain to you that this totally impossible thing did actually happen. But when you start unraveling the whole thing, it just doesn't make any sense at all.
Well,
so
yeah,
it's the same with all of these operations. When you really look into them, it is a mess.
The part for me about Sandy Hook, and one of the reasons why I've chosen to let the evidence continue, right? I just want to acquire the evidence and listen to everybody, is that I'm a parent, right? I'm a parent. I have two daughters, and I think about those children dying there. And if all of this conspiracy, false flag stuff turns out to be wrong, and children did die, and those parents went through what they went through, I don't want to be part of that crew. right? I don't want to be part of the guy that those parents have to, one of those guys that those parents have to listen to. And that's why with Sandy Hook, if it is a false flag operation, then I would deem it brilliant, because now you've got children involved, and that affects the emotions of people like me. And if like I said, if it is a false flag, it's brilliantly laid out to affect and go straight to fear and emotions for all of those parents across this country.
I wouldn't call it brilliant. I would say following standard template.
Right.
What we spoke about before was they need to get the emotional thing going. And this is where women and children, that is a standard procedure. When it comes to bombs, it doesn't really work if you blow up an old people home or veterans home or something like that, if you don't want to get these emotions going. But otherwise than that, it is women and children. That is standard. And it's also for me, when I talk about Charlie Hebdo or the latest Paris things, it is very hard for me to say that I doubt any deaths in these operations, because people are like, but how can you be so cold and sinister? How can you say a thing like that? But the thing is, when you look at the evidence, where are the real proofs? And when it comes to Sandy Hook, for instance, go to the FBI's own website. You can do it now if you want to live. Check out number of homicides for that year. Go to Newtown, which is where Sandy Hook was under, and the number of homicides is 0. This is also the thing when you are sloppy, when you know that you will not be caught, where there's no threat to you as a person being part of these operations, because they know that they've got cover from the highest top. So if someone like you or I was trying to pull a standoff, we would really put a lot of effort into trying to cover our tracks and do it properly and out of fear to get caught. But these people are very arrogant, and I would say many times, and also it's not easy. I really don't envy them, because these things, especially the more people that are involved, it gets very, very messy very quickly. And then once the lies start going, or you have somebody that messes up on live TV or something like that, some crisis actors or some parent that has to go into the emotions or is laughing right before the interview, and it's being filmed, these things that mess it up, then I don't envy them. But I would very much encourage people to, when you see these type of things happening, the next time something like this happens, please ask yourself, cui bono, who benefits? Who benefits from you being freaked out? And watch for the solution. Just wait. You got the problem. Oh my God, this has happened. It's awful, it's awful, it's awful. Your reaction is, oh my God, not another one. I live in a totally mad world filled with mad Muslim terrorists. That's the emotion they want. And wait for it. We need more airport security. We need more surveillance cameras. We need satellite devices that will control you everywhere. We need you to chip your children. We need you to pump you out full with vaccines and dumb you down in all ways we can for your protection.
When we come back after the break, one of my favorite subjects is Richard M. Nixon, probably the most diabolical American that's ever been. And for some reason, he has escaped the criticism. And we're going to talk about Richard Nixon and the big Operation 40 right after the break. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Ole Dammegard. I'll be right back. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Not being able to fall asleep is so frustrating. The tossing, the turning, the adjustment of pillows and blankets. Ugh!
Eventually, you just decide to get up and start your day really early. It doesn't have to be this way, though. Power Sleep is an all-natural, non-prescription formula that will help you sleep like a baby. It contains neurotransmitter nutrients that promote the production of serotonin, which is responsible for feelings of well-being. Power Sleep is easy to digest and absorb and is made in a base of active probiotics. Don't miss another night of sleep. Order your Power Sleep at energywave.com or call 800-TURTLE-5. Add Power Vites to your cart while you're browsing. Perfect for Monday mornings. They're a complete multivitamin and mineral formula that will give you the energy you need to get through your day. Nourish your immune system and feel great. Get all the info and place your order at energywave.com. Enter code word SLEEP to get free shipping. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Did you ever turn to your radio for your favorite talk show to find that it's been preempted for this?
In the air to deep right center. Back goes Lewis to the wall, and it's out of here!
Or this?
And I'm ashamed of you, Hillary, for voting for it.
Do you have a favorite talk radio program that's not available in your city? Just go to TalkStreamLive.com for links to the best streaming talk radio shows. At TalkStream Live, you will find live talk shows 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All your favorites are here. With such a large selection, you will also discover some new favorites. On the go and still want to listen? With the mobile smartphone, simply type TalkStream Live on your internet browser. Now you can take internet radio with you. You will also find hundreds of music, news, and sports streams. Best of all, the TalkStream Live directory is free and there's never a login required. Remember TalkStreamLive.com, the fastest route between you and your favorite talk radio show.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back to Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Bespoke Radio on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, the planet. Our guest tonight, Ole Dammegard, live from Spain, by the way. And I got to tell you, Ole, you got to love technology because it sounds like you're right here with us in Burbank. Pretty incredible, isn't it?
Totally incredible.
And I'm letting everybody know that Ole's speaking to us from his castle high in the hills.
I wouldn't call it a castle, but I really enjoy living here.
Now, Richard Nixon, and the thing about Richard is most of us, and certainly the history books, are going to tell us that, you know, he's the guy that resigned as president because of Watergate, and that he was a great president before then, and everything was fine, and he was winding down the Vietnam War, and there was all of these the good side to Richard Nixon. And if you do any research or you look into anything and you go backwards in time to the late 50s with Richard Nixon, he was one of the darkest, backstabbingest, murderingest, diabolical guys running around this country, wasn't he? He was out of control.
I tell you, I believe that the assassination of JFK was a coup d'etat. A coup d'etat not only on the USA, but more or less in a global coup d'etat. And the people that took him out, the power structure that took him out, is the same power structure that we are still facing. And I would once again humbly suggest that all the long line of presidents following JFK, the death of JFK, is just another nice cover of the same very brutal death machine that took over that day. And Nixon was just another puppet, totally. And what we're looking at on are super criminals, I would say, with massive talents when it comes to manipulation, lying, stealing, and being an absolute horrific person, I would say. And he was one of the gang. But a weak person, a weak character.
What was Operation 40?
I'm glad you that you asked me, because Operation 40, I believe, is the key that is like a red thread that will uncover so much of these things that have been going on without us understanding what's actually happening. It was in the late 50s, early 60s, where Eisenhower, he was the president at the time, he and other people from the CIA and so on, Alan Dulles was involved as well. They came up with the idea, why don't we create an ultra-secret hit team, not only to kill people, but also to blackmail or manipulate or whatever is needed, so that we have this tool that we can use wherever in the world we are in need of it, So the task was given to Richard Nixon, who was the vice president, if he could put together a team that was called Operation 40. He contacted people like E. Howard Hunt in the CIA, famous from the Watergate and many other. I mean, these are big players. Another one was Ted, the blonde ghost, Shackley, extremely involved in so much when it comes to mass murder on a global scale. And David Atlee Phillips as well. These three were the key people in Operation 40. Now, they went down to Miami, where the biggest CIA base was at that time, and they started recruiting people, mostly exiled Cubans that had just fled from Cuba. And the idea at that time, when the so-called enemy was Fidel Castro, was to get people and train them, get people that hated Castro already, so they didn't have to persuade them in any way or form, and had a military or police background and so on, so that they were good and disciplined, violent people that could be, if controlled in a good way and trained in a good way, could be used without any scruples or any resentment to what they were doing or anything. So they got together a group, which were in the beginning, I think it was around 80 people. It's called Group 40 or Operation 40, but there were more members. And these members were trained outside Louisiana, Lake Pontchartrain, which is also connected to the JFK assassination. They were trained in Miami, in the Everglades, and also in Guatemala, down in everything from guerrilla warfare to explosives to poisons to whatever that could kill anyone. They were trained in it.
And I want the audience to understand that everything that we're talking about right now, the training that went on in Louisiana and Miami and Guatemala, this is all documented. This is all real. The funding for it was even crazier. They got a bank involved in Mexico City, and the mafia is involved, and they figured out ways to hide the money, and we'll get into that too as well. But what's crazy about this entire operation was it was real, and once they put the guys together, they realized that they had a team of highly trained mercenaries that they could dispatch at will. And the guy that presided over the mess was Richard Nixon. He had his own little private army.
But more than that, the paymaster of this group, the guy that funneled the finances into this group and these operations, was a young man by the name of George Herbert Walker Bush.
That's right.
Surprise, surprise.
And what's even nuttier, that it was like a 14-year period. If you go back to 58, 59, and all the way up to 72 to Watergate, it's the same dudes that were caught at Watergate that were training in 1960 in Louisiana.
I tell you, we're looking at a core group that exists more or less until today. I mean, they're getting really old, but some of them are still active. It's incredible. I mean, I've got photos of them from 2012 where they're still doing good. You know, some of these guys that was involved in everything from the JFK assassination and onwards. And since Chip Tatum, the guy I told you about before, he has been part of a sort of like a modern version of Operation 40, because they call Operation 40 the grandmother of operations. This is the way they sort of found a template of how to carry out these operations. And many of the people that you find involved in different scandals or as advisors in the White House and so on have a background. Even one of them became the director of the CIA for a short while around 9/11. It is mind-blowing once you get into what this small little group has been involved in. And Chip says when it comes to the world of assassins, it is a very, very small little group that is being used again and again and again, being flown from place to place and very quietly carrying out one operation after the other. These people have been extremely active over the years.
It's funny. I'm reading a quote here from Frank Sturgis, right? One of the key guys.
He was one of them, yeah.
Yeah, and he goes, well, upon orders, naturally, we would just assassinate either members of the military or political parties of a foreign country that you were going to infiltrate, and if necessary, one of our own members who were suspected of being foreign agents. We were concentrating strictly on Cuba at that particular time, but they went off and ended up doing operations all around the world. At the Dispatch, at that point, it was, like I said, it was Tricky Dick's, Richard Nixon's little private assassination force.
I would say when you look at Nixon and then George Bush Sr., I mean, he has kept Operation 40, the core elements of this group, very close to him during his whole career, and used it to get rid of anyone in his way. He's been very, very brutal in his way to get into the top position of power. And I would say he was behind the Watergate, this whole thing, to get rid of Nixon. The official story of the Watergate, I would suggest, is not the real story. Also, he was behind the assassination attempt on Reagan to get him out of the way. After that thing, Reagan was so scared that the one that really took over and was leading the whole show after that was Bush Sr. as vice president at that time. And he's been running the show ever since. But he's a key player, but not the very top. He's a key player, but in many, many, many of these operations. And this is where I think such a person as Chip Tatum is incredibly valuable to have as a source, even though you have to question him as well, because just like they say, once CIA, always CIA. That is the thing. I see him as a friend, but I mean, I can only answer for myself. I don't know who these people are. I don't know Chip that well, but I've been in situations and with him, and where I've found that his honesty and values now are very, very strong. And so at this point, until I see another thing about him, I honor him as a true brave warrior to dare to stand up against his former employees, because these are very brutal forces and people.
Operation 40 operated officially, for about 10, almost 12 years, and it wasn't even uncovered until a plane crashed in California that was carrying heroin and cocaine. And that's how Operation 40 was exposed. And supposedly it had ended, when they said, oh, hey, well, we're funding this group called, Operation 40. And that's what the people on the plane had as it unraveled. I don't want to get into that story, but did Operation 40 just continue under another name? I mean, they had everybody in place, certainly.
Totally. This is what they do. They keep changing the names. They keep changing for every single operation. The task force changes names. So Operation 40 was the name just used in the beginning. But the core, I'm talking about the core members have just changed, have stayed the same. And carrying out, you mentioned like Frank Sturgis, for instance. He was in Dallas when JFK was murdered. He was the Watergate. He was involved in so many operations in between these two. But he was also involved in the murder of the president and I think the secretary. I don't know the English term, but one of the top people in the Portuguese government 1980 when they blew up a plane here. You know, these people are players that have been used again and again and again. Portagos was one of them, you know, the former CIA director and so on. So they're just all over the place when you see it. Barry Seal is another one. They were very, very central in the JFK assassination, the assassination of Robert Kennedy, the murder of John Lennon. They were very central in Operation Condor when they took out Salvador Allende in Chile and then tracked down supporters of his supporters, killing them in the thousands. They were very central in Operation Phoenix in Vietnam, where Ted Shackley was extremely big in leading these mass killing operations. And it's just been that the tracks are covered in blood that follows these people. I mean, on an incredible level.
Now, yesterday it was announced that Obama is going to release the secret 28 pages of the 9/11 report that allegedly involve Saudi Arabia. Or not, right? But they've withheld this from the public for all of these years now, and he is looks like he wants to get these released. What do you think those are going to say? Yeah, exactly.
This is the thing. This is the thing. You have to understand, Obama is not our guy. I'm very sorry to say. He sounds so nice. He looks so nicely. Look at the agenda, his actions. Oh my God. It is so brutal, so filled with death and destruction that he is just another beautiful cover of the same brutal machine of death, you know. And these things, why is there such a thing as national security? I mean, on a very few incidences, maybe it is needed. But this, when they talk about national security, it is their ass they want to cover. Why, after Sandy Hook and mass shootings in Scotland and so on, why are the official investigation being kept from us? And they say, well, you can't have a look at this for the next 40 years or 70 years or 90 years. Why? Because that is when they're dead, these people that were involved. So they know that, well, you can't get me for sure. We are paying them. They should deliver whatever we, the people, ask. And there's no need for this. I mean, I am for transparency. You show us what's up. And this whole thing about revealing new, what we will be given are new papers. But you have to understand also the people involved in these operations are many of these documents, official documents. Just because they're official doesn't mean that it's the truth. You know, very often they give us a tiny little bit of the truth to say, oh, we're so honest. You look at this, we give this to you because we're so kind and we so want to care for you. But they give you like 20% of the truth and 80% of absolute crap and lies and build up into psyops and stuff to totally confuse us. Or it is censored with the black pen all over the place.
You're absolutely right. And when it comes to 9/11, I'm going to make this very, very brief. My opinion is this: it's a huge conspiracy. That's what it is what I don't know. And I think there's so many theories out there that it's too big. But the one thing for me is that Washington and other people knew in advance that it was going to happen. And that is the big conspiracy. I mean, that is just insane to think about. And so if you knew about it in advance and it happened, then we have a big, big problem. Whether it was tactical nukes, Ole, I don't know. Whether the planes were holograms, I don't know. I don't know any, controlled demolitions and all of these different theories that have been put out there. I don't know. But truly, if Washington knew in advance that it was going to happen, then that is a conspiracy in its purest definition, and we do have a problem. With all of the data that has gone by now and everything that you have collected and researched, what do you think the bottom line is with 9/11?
The bottom line of 9/11, a total inside job, not only on the American part, but with Mossad and other forces as well. Just like you, I say, how did they take these buildings down? Is it that important? Is it that important if it were mini nukes or direct energy weapons or controlled demolition? I would suggest, I think we're looking at a combination of all of these technologies, because they needed these buildings to go down, and they somehow dustified them. I do not know what kind of weaponry or explosives were used to be able to totally dustify these incredibly big buildings. But the bottom line is, who did it? And the people, the powers behind this, because we are so asleep, are still doing it to us. And we're still standing there in the center of New York looking at where did the towers go, where did they go, instead of seeing who did it and what are they up to now. So I say, I totally respect people that if it was direct energy weapons or whatever they used, fantastic, because whatever was used can be turned around and used for humanity instead of against it, because there was some kind of incredible power source used there that we are not aware of, I would suggest. But the whole thing is, what are they up to now? Because these people are moving forward very fast, trying to get us into a corner where they can trap us, where they can close the gate around us and totally control us. I tell you, when you look at the New World Order agenda, oh my God, the future is so dark and sinister if they get away with it. But I must say, I am a super optimist. I tell you, after all of these years, if anyone should be depressed and hanging from a rope from the ceiling, it would be me. I'm totally the opposite. I am so optimistic about this whole thing, because people are waking up, I would say, in the millions now. Really, there's an amazing awakening going on. And the same people that are behind these operations or behind the New World Order, they are so few. We're talking in the thousands. We are billions. You know, it's a joke that we should have programs like this. You and I, Jimmy, should be sitting in a bar jamming now, having a cold beer.
Right.
Because these things are so obvious when you look into it. I mean, if you believe the official story of 9/11, if you really look into the evidence and you believe it, I really, I don't want to, it's hard not to be rude when it comes to intelligence, but there is a 5-minute video you can find on YouTube. It's by the Corbett Report. It's just 9/11 in 5 minutes, and he just goes through it like a comic strip, like all the evidence. And when you look at it like that, it's the official story. You can only laugh at it because it just does not match up at all.
Well, and I don't know, did you ever visit the World Trade Centers before 9/11?
I did not. I saw them in a distance, but I wish I had.
That's good enough. That's good enough, because when you see them in person, when they were still standing, you realize how friggin' big they were, right? I mean, big. I've been inside and up to the top and once, and been by the buildings many, 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 many times. And they were so enormous and strong. You know, there's something about New York City when you walk around the streets down there and you look up at these huge buildings and all you see is strength. And it's amazement, you know, when you walk around. And the World Trade Centers did that for me. And the planes, as big as those passenger jet planes were, they were dwarfed by the size of these buildings. And when they came down, I thought, how is that even possible? How it didn't compute to me that that's ultimately was going to happen from planes crashing into the buildings. It just didn't make any sense. And that's where my brain gets a little bit confused, only because I was there and I know how big it just seems impossible to me. It just seems impossible. And you bring up a great point, dust, you know, turning them into dust. I don't want to, you know, a lot of people tragically died. And that's the part where I feel for all of those families and the people that died. The buildings fell down. And so to talk about conspiracies and our government doing this to us, or somebody, you know, in a big conspiracy to cause that kind of death, for me, messes with my head. But I've been to the buildings, and I just know that a plane couldn't bring them down. Did you ever see the? There's photographs, and I think there might even be some film of a plane, a bomber crashing into the Empire State Building. Did you ever see those?
Yeah.
Okay, look at that. That you know, didn't fall down.
Yeah, but they were constructed to be able to take at least several of these hits, you know. And if you take a normal plane, it's like a Coca-Cola bottle, more or less. You know, there's no power to that. It's not like they're body-piercing, you know, bullet-piercing, armor-piercing ammo that is being sent towards these buildings. They were planes of aluminum and very, very soft materials that can get seriously damaged just by a bird hitting, you know. Just a few days ago, there was a Turkish plane that flew into a flock of birds, and the nose cone of the plane was totally damaged. Right. And here we see the plane just slice into the building, and then with this heat from the fuel and so on that they say, when you look at the fume and the smoke from the fires, and it shows that these fires were not that hot. And also, there's no way that this type of fuel can melt steel like that. And even if it did, how could these buildings come down in free fall speed? That is free fall. There's nothing to stop it, you know. And then where did they go? They're dustified. Where's all the furniture? Where are all the bodies? Where's all of these things that were inside these buildings? The only thing that survived, paper and some rubber and aluminum. Otherwise, and then dust. Where did they go?
Yeah. It's an incredible thought.
Why haven't we seen? Why are people not freaking out all over the planet in skyscrapers saying, "Oh my God, there's a plane in the horizon. We need to get out. We need to get out."
Right.
Because
wasn't there a building, skyscraper in Milan, right? You know, right after that burned for a couple of days. You know, plane. I think it was in Madrid, not Milan. But and it was for like 26 hours or something like that. The fires was just blazing. Absolutely no problem. The steel construction just took it right on. And it's the same with all these major fires. The only three skies or big buildings like this that have come down like that are the three towers this day in Let me jump in. Let's take a quick break right here. Our guest, Ole Dammegard. When we come back, your phone calls. This is Fade to Black.
Hi, everybody. This is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
KGRA Radio. Intelligent talk.
If your home has hard water and it's leaving white spots, then it's likely that limescale is clogging your pipes. Limescale can cost hundreds of dollars a year in wasted energy and early appliance breakdown. HydroCare systems available at Wave Home Solutions prevent and remove limescale with just a simple filter change every 3 years. There are no salts, chemicals, or magnetic coils. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, just go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
If you're a talk radio fan, AccessRadio.net lets you listen to the best talk shows anytime and from anywhere. Works on your mobile or landline phone, and there's no cost if you have unlimited minutes. No need to use your data. Find your favorite talk show listen lines and discover new ones. Now you can listen on your schedule. Go to AccessRadio.net. That's AccessRadio.net. Save your favorite listen lines today.
Hi, I'm Richard Dolan. When I'm not hosting my radio program, The Richard Dolan Show on KGRA, or writing new books on UFOs, I run a publishing company. I'm proud to say that Richard Dolan Press has published some of the most fascinating books available on UFOs and related subjects. They include Dr. Bruce Maccabee's classic analysis of the UFO cover-up, David Marler's breakthrough book on triangular UFOs, Dr. Richard Sauter's unique work on underground bases, and other classics by Grant Cameron, Chase Kletsky, and Dr. Bob Wood, not to mention intriguing works by Eve Lorgan and Laurie MacDonald that deal with truly bizarre phenomena. I'm proud to publish such high-quality and original works, and there are several amazing books about to be released over the next few months. Go to richarddolanpress.com to learn more.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Tappy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
Welcome back to Fade to Black, Bespoke Radio. Yeah. On the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. Tonight, our guest is Ole Dammegard, live from Spain. Let's bring in Ole. Now, I'm opening up the phone lines right now, 323-825-5045. Ole, what would be the end game with 9/11? I mean, what would be the intention? I mean, is it just to go out and spend money forever in eternity on terrorism and terrorists that we can't see, and it's an army in a country that doesn't exist? And is that the intention?
Jimmy, I didn't do it, so I don't know.
Right.
I do not know. I can just see the agenda unfolding, and I think they came up with a brilliant one when they started the war on terror, because who are they fighting? You know, there's this invisible enemy, so they can keep fighting this enemy, or they fight them forever and ever and ever. And the only thing they need to do is keep us fearful, to keep feeding us with new so-called enemies that they're behind, like ISIS, or they keep changing the name so we think that it's a new one, Daesh or ISIL or what. It's the same. And it's funded by the same people funding the boogeyman. And soon they will, when they can't scare us with the newest version of ISIS, they will come up with something called Vices, or, you know, something boring that will do the exact same thing. But the wonderful thing is that they worked so hard to numb us down through more and more violence and GMOs and fluoride in the water, everything to numb us down. But this is messing it up for them as well, because they need us to get fearful. And they've used all the tricks in the books. They're running out of options, I would say. So great, good times is in ahead of us if we can just stay focused and expose this in a totally non-violent way. It's very important that it's non-violent, because otherwise violence is their game and they will use it in any way they can to squash us, to give it back. So we need to do it in a totally different way, to transcend it, like in a Martin Luther King, following his footsteps, or Mahatma Gandhi. They showed us the way how to deal with these things.
My producer said to put this call through first. Hi, welcome to Fade to Black.
Yes, Jimmy, this Jimmy Church.
Yes, you're live.
Okay, I just wanted to call. My name's Jimmy too, and your broadcast tonight seems to be overlapping. I don't know what it's doing, and if anybody else has called in about it, but it's like it's two voices, like it's trying to mess up the broadcast tonight.
Oh, okay. Well, nobody else has said anything about it, so I'm not sure, man. It might be you. I don't know.
Well, I called in also on your line on your internet. And it was doing it over the phone.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, nobody else has said anything. So, do you have any questions for Ole?
No, I can't really understand, but I know it's a good program because what you guys are talking about. But man, I just wish I could hear it.
Just go straight to the website.
Go straight to the website.
All right.
All right. Thank you, Jimmy.
Yeah, man. Have a good night.
You too. Bye-bye.
Well, that was interesting. Okay. And, Ole, I wanted to ask you about ISIS, specifically there's a lot of questions, but the beheading videos and why those were put together. Do you think what's your opinion? Do you think those were orchestrated? Do you think they were real? And why have they stopped?
Totally orchestrated, not real. Green screen filming, absolute there to freak us out. And they tried to boost the fear level. And I mean, in the end, how many people did they line up on the beach? And there was all this blood in the water and so on. And still, it didn't really work the way they wanted it to. So how are they going to amplify it? They're running out of options. That's what I'm saying. The next level, what are they going to do that they haven't done already and that we will react to in a fearful way? They've done it all, so that's why they've stopped it. Now they're giving us an intermission so that we will get back, and oh, thank God that's not there. And then they will try to hit us again. I don't know the next time. Will they use chainsaw or something like that? But it is totally staged, inside jobs. Created boogeyman, financed by the same groups in this power hierarchy.
Yeah, exactly. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black.
Hi, Jimmy. This is Mark from Oregon.
Hey, Mark.
I wanted to ask Ole if he'd had any contact with David Chase Taylor. He's kind of exiled over in Switzerland right now.
I have not.
Really,
I
I
don't.
just wondered.
Could you say his name again, please?
Go ahead, Ole.
Yeah, go ahead. Mark, what's his name?
David Chase Taylor.
Sorry, I don't know this man.
Okay, who is he?
He was warning about false flag attacks, small nuclear devices being detonated at the Super Bowl. If these fear-based agendas weren't working, that the elite population controlling these type of events would move towards some type of extreme nuclear detonation at a national sporting event. And I wonder what you thought about that. Do you think that they'll go that far?
I sure hope not. But the type of weaponry, I hope they will stay away from. But what they try and do are create these things in big stadiums, train stations, big plazas, big openings where there's as many people as possible. But I would say that me and I and other people, researchers, and many more people awakening to the fact of what is going on, is trying to mess up their timeline by exposing what's going to happen. Because one of the main ingredients in these false flag operations is the drill. The drill is always there, and the drill is there so that they can get their vehicles in positions, explosives in position, get the patsy in position so he can be killed or take the fall for it, and other ingredients in the whole operation. But the drill they need to go out with and inform the public in that area. So my suggestion to people, whenever they hear about a drill, please go there, bring friends and family, bring cameras and start filming them, even while they're setting the whole thing up. This will be the day before or the days upcoming to this thing, but it will be announced as a drill. And also make it very, very obvious to the people that they are being filmed, that they are being observed doing these things, because these operations are only able to be carried out in the dark. I must say they are like cockroaches, and if you aim the light at them, they will disappear. So I think this is one totally nonviolent, fantastic way of exposing what's going to happen. And I believe that I've been part of stopping at least 2 false flag massacres by leading these type of actions against them. And my Facebook page has almost become like a hub for people all over the world to send in information about drills, upcoming drills on Greenland, in the UK, in France, in US, and so on. So that as soon as I get the info, I put it up there, and people start going there, start filming while it's being set up. And we've just diffused one after the other. So good days ahead if we keep doing it.
Hi, you're live on Fade to Black.
Yeah, Jim, with the World Cup coming over there in Dubai next year or the year after, what would that be with the Muslims? You know, what we're talking about, you know, they blow up a nuke and they don't care about nobody. Or, you know what I'm getting at.
The World Cup is where this time around, Ole?
It's coming in Dubai.
Oh, yeah, Dubai. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's an interesting take.
I must say I have no idea.
Yeah, that's an interesting take. Thank you for the phone call.
And thank you for making me aware of it.
Yeah, exactly. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. You're live.
Oh, wow, that was fast. Hi, Stefana from LA, and thank you so much, Ole and Jimmy. And I, too, had to switch over to internet from phone tonight, had the same issue, but I do have a question. Ole, do you have any kind of, like website, blog, or phone line where people can tune in and share information with each other, a forum or something, to say, hey, there's a what do you call it, a training session? What do you call it again?
A drill.
A drill, yeah.
Drill, thank you, yeah. You know, just to kind of forewarn people, you know, either to protect themselves or go, as you were suggesting, to photograph.
I'm only a lone guy here. You know, I'm not part of an organization or anything like that. But what I'm using my website, my Facebook page for exactly that. Okay. If you go and find my name, Ole Dammegard, on Facebook, sign up there, then you will see that I'm trying to bring in all of this kind of information on a daily basis. But at the moment, it's just that they've speeded it up, so it's happening all over the place. There's so many things going on following the exact same agenda. So it's a matter of just keep exposing it, and also, you know, very recently there was a secret drill that was going to take place at the Opera House in Gothenburg. I got some information from people employed there. So I went out weeks ahead saying it's going to happen there, it's going to happen there. And so they needed to move it, and then they, instead of the Opera House, they went for the airport right after the so-called Brussels attacks, where it was a fake event. There was nothing happening, but just the threat of it. And then on Facebook, I said, now wait for the solution, and boom, there it came. You know, a massive, big increase in budget for the Swedish intelligence agencies and so on. So just by knowing the ingredients of this terror pie, you know, as soon as you start smelling it, you can be part of exposing it as well.
Yeah. Are there any particular keywords that you recommend for doing searches on stuff to help share the information, or do searches one last time?
False flag. The false flag is really
that.
No, but
like,
it was really interesting because the term false flag was more or less unknown to other than researchers until the Boston bombing, I think, and then from there on it just went skyrocketed. That was where they messed it up for themselves.
Yeah, right. Cassandra.
What I mean is,
go ahead.
Sorry, I just meant like to like, you know, for those of us who might have time and try to do searches, because I'm in a couple Facebook groups and we sometimes used to share this information, but I kind of dropped off.
Yeah, because Cassandra, I'll help you out with that. You know, I would look up military exercises and drills, and then go to California and search. Search in Texas because or whatever, you know, pick a state.
Yeah,
because they do go down all the time, and they just had that Navy SEAL operation mock invasion up in, I think it was Washington. That was just absolutely nuts for them to do that. But yeah, that's what I would do. I would just look up military drills and then go by state.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And then if I can say, please, whatever information you find, please send it to me and I'll share it right away, because then suddenly it goes out on a global scale, you know, and more people get aware of it and so on, so we can stop this madness.
And what about 7705? You know, the London bombings. Were there military drills also going down at the same time?
There was an identical drill to the real event going. It was a live drill, or a ongoing drill that went live.
Wow.
The drill had exactly the same locations, the exact same subway station, the exact thing with a vehicle, a bus being blown up. It was even on BBC's major program, Panorama. They showed it there more or less a year beforehand, what was going to happen. The whole thing was just right in your face. And I've been informed from people on the inside that this is because the way the people behind the New World Order, the way they interpret the law of karma, is that if they inform us the victims, what's going to happen, and we do not react, then the karma is on our shoulders, not the attackers. So they put it out there in media and films and everything before the event itself. And if we don't react, well, then it's our problem.
Hi, you're live on Fade to Black.
Ole, Jimmy, and Ole. Many of us, find it hard. I know people have not heard these conspiracy things to think that our own government would do this. But once you get beyond this, and there are people within the government, I'm a SAG-AFTRA member, and I definitely am going to bring this up at our next union meeting about if you're ever asked to act in any type of an unusual thing where they say it's a thing that people should be aware. But that being said, can we go back to Jade Helm? I don't know how it was in Sweden, but what do you know about the Jade Helm exercise that went on for 6 weeks this past summer all across the southwestern United States? Was that something planning for a false flag or for...
I'm the wrong guy to ask because I was not on location. I was following it sort of on the sideline, but it felt to me like it was a massive build-up, and then it just turned into like a fart in the wind. Because I don't know, but all the reports I've received was that nothing really happened in the end. But it was almost like a build-up into this to amplify the fear mode. to get us all into a shaking mode at the same time with all the vaccines scares the virus scares and with the vaccines and all of these things to get us all down on our knees. But I don't know.
Go ahead.
No, please continue.
Well, I was saying some were saying that the entire operation was run by an artificial intelligence computer, and there were other charges that weird things were happening to Walmart. They were suddenly shutting down and laying people off for no reason, and that might have been connected. And I'll tell you, it was scary because I went to an event, Contact in the Desert, out at Joshua Tree, California last year, and on the way home, coming through the desert back north, I saw train loads full of all kinds of Army camouflage vehicles, Humvees and tanks, and it was pretty scary because in America you don't usually see this kind of hardware on the trains going around the country. It was kind of disconcerting.
I can totally understand that, and this is the horror of it all, because is it real or is it not? But at the same time, I believe that since fear is their tool, what easier way could they do a thing like this than put all of their vehicles on a train and just let it go on a tour all over the country saying, look at this, freak out, FEMA camps everywhere, and then put all of this information out there without having to do the operation itself. It's so much easier just to do it as a psyop. But I don't know, I was not there, so I can't say, but thank God nothing happened as far as I know.
Well, I think their cover was also kind of blown too because it just got so much publicity.
Yeah, exactly.
That it was no longer a psyop when everybody knew about it, right? It's kind of weird.
Well, Jimmy, we saw when we were, the one day, Sunday at last June, we saw a convoy leaving the military base there in the Southern California desert go by. It was pretty unusual on a Sunday.
Well, yeah, but it's also a huge Marine base, too, as well. I mean, that's a pretty big base out there, 29 Palms.
I don't know if I ever told you, Jimmy, but I asked one of the groundskeepers there, how does the economy run out there in Joshua Tree? And I was told, well, there's this conference center and the strip mall, and he said, well, basically, it's the conference center and the two military bases. I said, two? He said, yeah, there's the Marine base, and then there's the secret base, but everybody in town knows about it. So there are two bases out there.
Yeah, there's two. I think there might be more, actually, but yeah, 29 Palms is the main one. That's a huge, huge Marine installation out there. So, but there you go. Hey, Dino, thank you for the phone call.
All right, continue, Ole. We're at bated breath listening to you.
Yeah. Ole is lighting it up tonight. Thank you for the phone call. Ole, do you have a Twitter account? Everybody's in Twitter right now is asking for your Twitter. Are you on Twitter?
I am, but I don't have time to do. I mean, like I said, I'm a one-man band. I am overloaded with things, and Twitter is the thing that I don't have time to. But I'm getting there.
Now, I want to go back to the London bombings because I didn't know that there was a training exercise that was local that was going live. Let me ask you this. Do you think that the, MI5, MI6, do you think that Scotland Yard, do you think that they knew or they were tipped off that those bombings were going to happen, and that's why the exercise was going on, which is scary in itself if that is indeed true?
We're back to these operations being totally compartmentalized. So when you say Scotland Yard, absolutely not. The normal guy, no idea what's going on. Key people, absolutely yes. And also, something that could be a bit interesting is that Benjamin Netanyahu has an incredible way of being very close to these operations. He was staying at a hotel very close to the Tavistock Square where the bus blew up. And also Rudolph Gui, what's his name, the New York mayor? Giuliani. He was there as well. They were at a conference in London when this happened. But these things, it's the man that was in charge of this whole drill that was going on, his name was Peter Power. And you can find him on YouTube, the newscast, and also where he speaks openly about this drill that was going on. They had about 1,000 or 1,200 people involved. But these were normal, honest people, most of them, police officers, all of these things. And they were informed that it was a drill. So when the bombs went up in the subway, many police officers were standing up in the street, seeing the smoke coming out and seeing people coming out, blown up, and blood all over, falling over, dying in the pavement. And they didn't help them because they thought, they were sort of like, oh my God, it looks so real.
Yeah,
it's
I heard
the way they can do this.
Right, I heard the same reports. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black.
Hey, Jimmy, it's Allison. Hello, Ole. I have really appreciated your viewpoint and all the things you have said this evening. You are a very fresh breath of rationality in the midst of all this. And in saying that, now I'm going to take this a different direction. I am curious what you would say to the proposition that there might be a false flag of alien ET invading the Earth, which could be accelerated with things like Project Bluebeam and all the rest of the conspiracy theories out there. And if you think this might be possible, I'm curious to see what you might think would be the things that we need to watch for as precursors to this. And if I'm totally nuts, just say so.
Alison, I have no idea. When it comes to the alien part or UFOs, I'm the wrong person to ask for. Not that I don't believe, it's just that I don't know enough to talk about these things. I would say, if I can... Oh, sorry, please, continue.
I do not honestly think, if this is going to be a false flag, that it will be alien. It will be our government making it seem like an alien thing, if you know what I mean, to do the exact same formula you've been talking about all night.
Yeah, I hear you, Allison, and thank you for the phone call.
Okay.
Ole, yeah, she's not necessarily, well, she's not that alien, no, that the false flag would be an alien invasion. That would be like the ultimate false flag, wouldn't it? I mean, seriously.
I tell you, when you look at the Patsy, the building up of the Patsy or the boogeyman, in the during the Cold War, it was the Russians, East Germans, Bulgarians. There was no mentioning of Muslims whatsoever. These were the guys that you were supposed to fear. These were the nations you were supposed to fear. Then the wall went down. The Cold War ended, and for a while there, they were sort of like a bit confused. Who are we gonna? We need a new boogeyman. How are we gonna create a fearful outer enemy? And as far as I know, that at that point they started doing this with the alien threat that the Earth would be invaded. They were trying through movies and stuff like that, but it didn't really work out. So this is when they really sat down and thought, what are we going to create? And this is where in on stage came the Muslim terrorist, and he has been working perfectly for them, because Muslims most of the time comes from countries that many Western European or Americans, they don't even know the country, if it exists or where it is. They know very little about Islam as a religion and what it's based upon and so on. And these people are very often dark. They've got big eyebrows, dark eyebrows, big mustache often, dark eyes. And they have names like Abdul Karim Karumkara or something like that, which works perfect in media if you want to intimidate or create fear. So they have, since the end of the Cold War, they've really started this propaganda machine pumping out Muslim equals terrorist, Islam equals terror. And these things have just been pump out. So I would say we are at a stage in history when if I say Muslim, your brain would automatically be a bit scared or think about terrorism. If then I show an image and I say, this man, he had a bomb in his underwear and his name is Abdul Hamid Salam or something like that, you will definitely believe it.
Yeah, with that, and you're right, and it's worked perfectly. Ole, we're going to take our last break. Stay right there. I'm going to get you to do a little overtime with us, okay? A little extra 10 minutes or so. And
sure.
And thank you for hanging in there. I know it's so early in the morning over in Spain. Allison, thank you for the phone call.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Thank you so much. This is Fade to Black. More of your phone calls next. 323-825-5045. Our guest tonight, Ole Dammegard. I'll be right back.
Hey, what up, y'all? Sugar Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
Angioprim can clean blocked arteries and improve blood flow in all parts of your body. Angioprim is liquid oral chelation. It's not new science. 50 years of research has gone into chelation, and now there's Angioprim. Easy, simple, liquid oral chelation. You take it with juice before breakfast and forget about it. Angioprim works fast, unlike old-fashioned chelation that takes hours. The first thing Angioprim users say is they have more energy, more strength, more endurance. Increased circulation and blood flow will make all your body parts work better. Log on now at angioprim.com to get more information on how you can get started and start feeling better and doing more. Lots more. Talk to a trained Angioprim consultant or go to angioprim.com for help. Call Angioprim toll-free at 877-882-7221. That's Angioprim at 877-882-7221. Get the facts about Angioprim. Begin living the life you want, doing the things you used to do again with Angioprim.
What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring 2 Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hardshell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The 2 full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129, and use the promo code JCRTWS, and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to JimmyChurchRadio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go Beckley Tepe.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back to Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Ole Dammegard. And it's early in the morning in Spain. I have no idea, actually, what... Ole, freak me out. What time is it right there right now?
It's 6:30 in the morning.
Oh, man.
It was 4 o'clock when you called me. 3:30, actually.
Oh, thank you so much for doing that.
My pleasure.
One of the things that I looked at immediately when it came to Iraq and 9/11 is first off, the lies to the United Nations and what was it? It was nuclear stuff coming out of Africa and mass destructive weapon. All of this talk, and that's we needed to go in the weapons of mass destruction, and it turned out all to be one big lie. There was no You remember, what was it? Yellow cake, whatever. It was just a big lie. Is it because they wanted to move in Halliburton, bomb the country into the Middle Ages, and then go in with all of our construction industry infrastructure and make a bunch of money rebuilding the oil fields, the streets, the electrical systems, the schools, the buildings, and just roll with all of that profit from the war? Is that a reason to bring down the Twin Towers as well?
It's just it's part of the whole thing. And this is also a very important point you're making here, that war makes billions. You think that dropping bombs on people, that would sort of cost money, but not if you're the manufacturer of planes or bombs or whatever. It's the perfect thing. The more you bomb, the more you earn. And also the one that pays is you, the normal person. You, through your taxes, are paying for these bombs to be dropped, to go into the pockets of the people behind these companies. And you will see they turn up again and again. And Halliburton, oh my God.
I know.
Oh,
Frightening.
And then they go in with humanitarian care. Yeah, right. Building up whatever they destroyed, so that they can bomb it in a second war and rebuild it again. You just have to, it's like Garrison in the movie JFK, he says, we have to see it in a different way. Black is white and white is black. We are behind the mirror.
Right.
And, it is, I believe in naming things for what they are. So, like CIA is the Central Intelligence Agency. I would say cocaine import agency, an agency because it is for rent. Whoever pays can get their services. The FBI, I'm not talking about every single agent, but fraud, intimidation, fraud, bribery, intimidation for the FBI. Look at FBI. Every single attempt, so-called terror thing that has been in the U.S. the last, I don't know how many years, I have not been able to find a real terror event. It is funded, sponsored, covered up by the FBI every single time. And this is not only me saying it. You can find a lot of other people who are looking into these things. The White House, the Satanic House, it is, I'm very sorry to be the bringers of bad news if you're not aware, but this is at the level where it is now. It is so corrupt. The game has been taken over, and we are at a point in history where we need to wake up to what's going on, because the real truth is so different from the version that we're being presented through this black box. And if I can just say, so many people come to me and say, but okay, I'm starting to wake up here now to what's actually happening, but so what can I do? And my sweetheart, Kamala Ekman, she's the mother of three, a wonderful woman, a normal person who's not into these things at all. I mean, these things make her really depressed and sad most of the time. But she came to a point where she just felt, but what can I do? So what can I do? So what she did was take that thought and put it into action. So she put together 14 questions, questions like from a normal person's perspective. Is there such a thing as chemtrails? What are GMOs? Tell me about the banking system. Are we these type of things? Many of these basic things that are behind the New World Order. Is it true or is it not? And what she did was she interviewed 8 different people. Dr. Kevin Barrett, who's an incredible researcher. Ken O'Keefe, that maybe many people know, I think.
Sure.
David Icke, who's the one that opened the eyes of so many people. Sophia Smallstorm, who is when it comes to Sandy Hook, you should interview her instead of me. We got Cynthia McKinney, Zen Gardner, also incredible people. And also she chose to have me in the book as well. So I feel very honored.
Right.
And this book is called So What Can I Do? And it just gives these 8 different people's perspective on the same question. It's the same questions being asked, and you can find it on Amazon now. And it really is, I would say, very important information to give to people who are in the state of either so many of us feel that something really weird is going on, but we can't put our finger on it. So, and also, if you are starting to wake up, most of us goes into this thing where we just start spreading very, very dark information around us. You know, everything is corrupted, everything is a conspiracy, we're doomed, we're going down. And most people avoid you at that time, you know, because you will lose friends, you will lose family members as being close, because everybody around you will just say, oh my God, I can't take all of this negativity. But with this book, you can sort of give it as a gift or just put it on the table and so on. And if the other one chooses to start to read it, this can be a way of possible future dialogue instead of avoiding each other or getting into quarrels or discussions and so on. So,
well, you know what's interesting. You mentioned this a few minutes ago. I just read this the other day that right now our military is running out of bombs. We cannot make them fast enough because what we have been doing in Syria and Iraq. And so I jump into the article. And it turns out that we have dropped so many bombs there, and that they cost anywhere, and this is fact, I'm not making this up, $25,000 to $400,000 each, right? You know, being $400,000 being a Tomahawk missile, right, or some type of cruise missile. But those guided bombs, $25,000 each. Now, I know they don't cost $25,000. They cost, $1,000 or whatever to make, and a guidance system, no big deal. But, somebody's getting billed, back to the Department of Defense, $25,000, and we can't drop them fast enough on an enemy that is supposed to be somewhere between 20 and 40,000 strong in Iraq and Syria. And we've dropped almost everything that we've got on them, and we still haven't gotten anywhere in Syria. Now, it doesn't take a rocket scientist or the brightest person in the world to say something is really going on here. There is something in play that just doesn't make any sense, because those numbers and the reports and everything else that they want us to believe, something isn't true. It's just not adding up.
Jimmy, please also understand these wars are built on absolute lies. They're totally unjust. And these bombs that you and people in the States are manufacturing, paying for, promoting, are killing absolute innocent people in innocent countries that are just there to be slaughtered. And if you look at, you're talking about dropping bombs, you go and talk to bombers in the Vietnam War, talk to people that were on board of these planes, and many times they were ordered to drop bombs on areas that there were no targets. They were just dropping bombs and bombs and bombs and bombs and bombs to get the bills up there, where the normal person had to pay and pay and pay.
Right.
And Chip Tatum, the CIA whistleblower who spent his whole adult life in the U.S. Army and in intelligence agencies, he said the greatest terrorist force on earth is the U.S. Army. These are hard words, but look at it.
Yeah.
When you look at so-called terrorist countries like Iran, you tell me, how many wars have Iran started the last 100 years, 200 years?
None.
Okay, Iraq, how many wars? One.
Well, two. Two. You've got Iran, and that little country called Kuwait.
True. So two.
Two, right?
That's two. Syria, how many wars?
I don't know. None.
None.
Right.
Jordan, how many wars? None. Okay, then you go to the States.
And Israel. And Israel.
How many wars have you started? I'm not being disrespectful. Just look.
You're not. 100. I don't know.
You are in the hundreds.
Yes,
and
yes.
You have been at war forever.
Yeah, we haven't stopped.
And you are the strongest military force on earth. Who would even challenge you? Your force is hundreds times the force. I think you got more military force than the rest of the world together.
Yeah,
and
that's probably
still,
right.
You are the ones that are defending democracy by bombing the crap out of countries that are mostly desert, that with a population like in Iraq, where most people are under the age of 15, there are only kids left.
Right.
These are horrors, absolute horrors that keeps going on because we, the normal person, are asleep or is too lazy to do something about it or too busy fumbling around with a remote trying to change channel and get another pizza slice.
Yeah, we're the Americans over here are seriously starting to get a little tired of this, and we don't like it any more than anybody else. And I'll tell you something else. I read this yesterday. My eyes popped out of my head. Nobody else is talking about it. I just happened to find it on an obscure military website that we're sending B-52s now over to Iraq to bomb ISIS. B-52s. What is going on? And Ole, if the beheadings and burning humans in cages and this torture, rape, everything that ISIS, and it may all be true, I don't know, but why isn't anybody doing anything about it? Iran's not doing anything about it. Turkey's not doing anything about it. Jordan's not doing anything about it. Saudi Arabia is not doing anything about it. And all of those countries right there have 5.5 million, strong militaries all combined, could theoretically go in and walk across the desert backwards on their hands and knees and clear out ISIS, right? 15, 20, 30, 40,000 of them. And end this, and nobody is choosing to do it. Is that telling the world that none of this is even real and that this is just all on television?
Well, I would strongly suggest to look into it. And also, why are they not attacking Israel? That would be the easiest target, and they're so close, but they never go there. But the thing is, Al-Qaeda was a creation funded by the CIA in the war against Russia in Afghanistan. These were agents trained by the Western intelligence services and so on, used in that war.
Right.
Then that war ended. So what are we going to do? We got this, it's exactly like with Operation 40, exactly like with Gladio, exactly here. We got this mighty force. What are we going to use it for? And so Al-Qaeda is actually the name of CIA's database. It means database in Arabic, and it's their trained agents. So let's start mayhem according to their old plan called strategy of tension, how to inflict fear into modern society. So they started using Al-Qaeda. Then they've used it again and again and again. It came to a point where you couldn't even scare children with Al-Qaeda anymore. So what did they do? What are we going to do? What are we going to do? What are we going to do? We upgraded. We just changed the name. We dressed them all in black. We sponsored them by Toyota. You show me one picture of Al-Qaeda, of ISIS where there's a vehicle in it. If it's not a Toyota, it is Toyota, 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 Toyota. Because we got product placement in most of these false flag operations as well. You got it everywhere. I tell you, I can go on forever about these things. Please, I've done hundreds of interviews. There are many of them on YouTube. Have a look at it if you don't believe me.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. ISIS hasn't done anything in Israel. I haven't even thought about that. Or Al-Qaeda, for that matter.
Where did they come from? Nobody knew about ISIS, and then suddenly, out of absolute nowhere, boom, the biggest threat the world has ever seen. Oh, my God. Oh. And by the way, ISIS in the 1990s, when you looked in the phone book, if you go in the States, you look CIA, you will find the headquarters and so on. If you go in Israel and try to find Mossad, as far as I've been informed, you cannot find it. So they went for Israeli Security Intelligence Services. That is the origin of the name ISIS for this whole operation. It is totally sponsored by CIA, Mossad, or trained by these forces together. And also the funding comes from many other areas as well. But we're talking about a created boogeyman.
Yeah, I remember when the Obama administration started talking about this, 4 years ago, about arming these moderate, rebels and these groups, and I saw that, and I remember then the very first time I laid eyes on this when they were talking about this idea, I thought to myself, not only is that a bad idea, but this is orchestrated. Something here doesn't smell right, and here we are 4 years later. The guys that we were arming and funding are the guys that we're fighting now, and it's incredible to see it unravel and play out in front of us in real time like a bad movie. Ole, I want to thank you for coming on tonight. An absolutely sensational show, and you've caused quite the uproar tonight in Twitter, and I want to thank you for that. You've got everybody talking. Well done.
Could I just finish with a few words?
You can do whatever you want, Ole.
Okay, in that case, I would very much like to say, I try to stand for truth the way I see it. I'm a one-man band. I try to expose these operations when they're ongoing. I try to get on location while the operation is there and expose it. I predicted the Copenhagen shooting 1 month before it happened. I went out on international radio saying it's going to happen exactly around that train station at that time with this theme. It happened not the day I said, but exactly 1 month later to the hour at the exact spot and so on. Not because I'm super intelligent or have a crystal ball, but because they keep repeating. Once you start understanding how they think and their timeline, you will start to be able to predict these things. And so I went there straight after it happened. I took groups around the area while the police was still there, armed with all these vehicles and so on, exposing what happened, putting it out on YouTube and so on. This is what I'm trying to do to stop this madness, because I just want peace and harmony and compassion, forgiveness for all of us. So if anyone believes in what I'm doing, I'm devoting my whole life. I don't have a normal job. I'm doing this full time because there's so much mayhem going on. Please support my efforts by signing up for my newsletter on lightonconspiracies.com. There are donations button. Greatly appreciate it. I cannot say how much I appreciate these things. Buy my books. Find me on Amazon. I've got 4 or 5 books there. And also, I'm part of, or I'm in the process of making a series of documentaries where I go on location where these false flag operations have happened, and then in the documentary compare the official story with the actual facts, so that I put it right in front of you on the screen for you to judge, for you to be the judge of what are we really looking at. And I tell you, there's so many of these operations that are it's mind-blowing when you start seeing it for yourself, because it's so obvious if it's just put and presented in front of you in the right way. So I'm looking for outlets for this series of documentaries. I have a series of about 13 programs lined up. Also, just to end this whole thing, if it would be okay if I finish with a prayer.
Sure.
Because I'm not a religious person, but I feel I'm a spiritual being like all of us. And I'm a Raja Yoga teacher as well. That is yoga for the mind, how to calm down your mind. And this has helped me a lot because, as you might imagine, I'm not the most popular person when it comes to these people behind these operations. And these operations are carried out very brutally. So normally they deal in a very brutal way with truth seekers. But it has helped me a lot to stay calm, even though I've been threatened and so on. And I have this wonderful teacher. Her name is Nelani Chelaram, and she has a prayer that goes like this. May the entire universe be filled with peace and joy, love and light. May everyone, and especially the ones who hurt us, be filled with peace and joy, love and light. Victory to that light. The thing is, we all need to heal. These people or whatever it is that are behind these things, they also need to heal, because otherwise this madness will just continue. So it's extremely important how we deal with this, and that we do not go their way and use violence to try and take them out. Because if you look at revolutions over the many, many hundreds of years, the people that are joining the revolution, they succeed sometimes. They chop the head of the emperor or whoever it is, and then just a few years down the line, they're even worse than the people they overthrew.
Yeah.
So it's not revolution, it is evolution. We need to transcend this whole thing. And we are at an amazing point where we are in the process of doing this, but we need to do it in a way that follows the thinking of Mahatma Gandhi or Martin Luther King, in my opinion. That is the way to go, to not hit back, but absolute fearless exposure of what's going on. Absolute fearless. And when people say to me, what can I do? I'm just a normal housewife. I'm just a no. What you can do is train yourself to become fearless by meditation or whatever, long walks in the forest or whatever, and be aware when you put on this black box in front of you, there is a magic button on the remote. It's normally red and it says off. You press that button and there's this strange things that will happen to you. For a little time you will feel uneasy and so on, but after a day or so, there will come this feeling of calmness around you. The box in front of you is their tool to get to your subconscious, to get to your children. The thing that you're using as a babysitter, they are very aware of that, how to get to your kids as well. Turn it off. Turn it off. And see, you can use the internet to see whatever you want to see, but so that you choose it without commercials, without these things, and handpick things that are uplifting for you. And focus on do good, be good, and help whatever you can. Don't look at the big picture. Look in your local neighborhood. Look at your closest friends and neighbors. What can you do? What can I do to lift the spirit? What can I do to lift this whole situation? We're being bombarded with all of this dark. If when you listen about the Ebola scare, it's the pandemic, it's the worst thing ever, and then you look out the window, do you see piles of dead bodies everywhere? Do you see? And if you do, then it's time to freak out. But I tell you, most of us, if not all of us, have never seen piles of dead bodies, even though we've been pumped with this, you need to take the vaccine, you need to take the fear. Take a step back and just breathe and take a walk and then come back and make a decision in balance upon how to move forward in life.
Thank you so much, Ole. And that is why the website is called lightonconspiracies.com. Ole Dammegard. Thank you so much, Ole. Keep rolling that rock uphill.
Thank you so much. It's downhill now.
Yes, it is. Thank you so much, Ole.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
You too. And thank you so much for having me on the show.
Yeah, thank you, Ole. Ole Dammegard, live from Spain. Like I said, it is like right now, it's 6:30 in the morning. Ole Dammegard, thank you so much. His website is lightonconspiracies.com. This show is produced by Hilton J. Paul, Mark D. Kovar. Our executive producer is Rita Kamarian. Show is also produced by LJ3, Renee, Mark Dunbar, Jonas. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vito, and Mark D. Kovar. Fady Bydale. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy. SpaceboyMusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. Syndication is KGRA The Planet. Thank you to everyone that called in tonight. Thank you, Ole Dammegard. Amazing. Website is www.lightonconspiracies.com. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2016 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. You can follow me on Twitter right now at JChurchRadio. Everybody be safe. Go Beckley Teppy.